Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to ERA and welcome to our ERA Sunday Championship Season 18, Round 6, our second last round of the season, and the drivers are ready to go and fight for the championship at the beautiful circuit of Redbull Ring. Reopened in 2011 under the new name Redbull Ring. It previously ran under various other names out in Austria, one of them from 2001 to 2004, known as the A1 GP, the A1 Ring. Well, this 4.3 kilometer circuit looks simple on paper, and it's got 10 corners, so not a very complicated one, but is a track that can easily catch you out as you run up and down the hills here in Austria. But now, our drivers are looking to make it their home for round 6 of their championship and to see who can stay at the top. Let's head down to the track and take a look at what's going on as our qualifying has just started and it's underway. So as we are now taking a look over to the circuit, our Gold Division drivers out on the track. Currently on screen, Richard van Heerden going to be fighting his way through. And let's run through who is out there, because Finley Gamble currently leads out the championship from first place. He's on 63 points after a stellar run last time out at Alton Park. Second place to him is Christian Fengler, who will be trying to chase him down. Christian coming off a really, really good run in last night's endurance race out in a Lamborghini, so getting back to grips with the BMW. He holds second place, but is tied with Patrick Bells, who's really giving him everything he can. Patrick is the BMW M Red Bull sim racing team, not holding back and wants to ensure that he can stay in for the fight. Diego Matos holds on to that fourth place. And I don't see Diego in the grid here tonight, so he's going to be utilizing a drop round. Well, this is actually going to be his third one that unfortunately drops out. Rich van Heerden, as we saw a little bit earlier, he is currently running in fifth place, so he's going to be on the charge. He's tied with Diego in points. Lewis Knight, our defending champion, lies in sixth place, so he is really trying to pick up the pace and ensure he stays in for the fight. Lewis Knight not wanting to be held back and wants to get a good shot to try and defend the title or recapture a podium. Chris Biermeister going after a victory at Alton Park, now looking to try and do it once again, lies in 7th position. Nico Lawrence running a little bit further down from him in the 8th position. He's on 30 points. Ulrich de Jager will be the next one through, along with Barry Gibbons, and rounding out the top 10 is Barry Gibbons. Rick Thomas sitting in the 11th position. Now, as we got our drivers looking to set some incredible times, keep an eye on likes of Tristan Ocleon, not one to hang around, and has proven he is quite quick behind the wheel, not afraid to fight out with some of the best in the biz. Richard, first one to put a time on the board with a 129.0 on his first flying lap. Ulrich de Jager comes in for third, but Chris Biermeister comes in at the top, a 128.7. Biermeister not hanging around now, is ensuring he can take the fight up to the sharp end of the field. Christian Fengler moving down the order as Finley Gamble puts in his flying lap. So far, the only top runners are sitting in the 28s is Tristan Ocleon and Chris Biermeister, able to get on their first flying lap into the 28s. From Richard van Heerden all the way down to Nico Lawrence, it has been 129 to 130 for Nico Lawrence, and still waiting on a time on the board for Rick Thomas at the moment. He's wanting to try and catch up to his teammate. It's quite easy to run a little bit into trouble out on the circuit. Nico Lawrence a little bit further down is up into 10th position and is the last of those that have scored a time on the board. Now looking towards that 128, seeing what he can do. Finley Gamble on a stellar run right now, currently sitting 0.3 up on his time, running very, very wide, clipping some of the dirt on the outside of turn 5 as he tries to navigate his way down the hill now. Gently he goes with the Ferrari, unfortunately understeer kicking in. That's absolutely killed off his time. He was holding on, but Patrick Bell's nearly a second up, 0.8 of a second right now, trying to get to 0.9 and just flirted for a brief moment on that 1 second. He's currently did a 129.9. He's currently going to be a second faster than that. A solid drive for the BMW driver. Is it going to be enough though? It does push him up into the top 4. And Patrick now looks at the side of Chris Biermeister on the second row. Let's see how the rest of the drivers are going to do when they got to push that a little bit harder. But a 128.6 set by Rich Van Heerden, finding a time in Sector 2, going and having a stellar effort there, ensuring he can stand the fight. Just a knockdown. Chris Biermeister, Patrick Bells, Ulrich Tiaga, Finley Gamble, Lewis Knight, Cedric Muir managing to go and get himself out there as well. The Lions, Cedric Muir. Good to have him back on track after having some time where he's missed out round 1 and scored no points in round 2. Missed out the round at Alton Park. He sits on 6 points currently, but this can be his way to get back into the top 10 championship fight just by being around here at the beautiful circuit of Austria. And take a look, 0.0 separating Rich Van Heerden and Tristan Ocleon right now as they're trying to really stand on the gas, giving the extra little bit, both trying to pick up a bit of time here. And so far, Richard, out of all the drivers, is the highest. 0.2 when he came out of the final corner, does come across the line. It's a 128.4 that he's able to go across and set. Wait for the rest of the drivers to come through as Tristan Ocleon, next driver, to see where he can go. Not wanting to lose a bit of time as Ulrich Diaga slips into second place, forcing Tristan down a little bit. How is he going to retaliate? Out of the final corner, ran out a bit wide. Got to be careful if that stands on the gas, but I don't think it's enough to jump him into second. Tristan does improve his time, but unfortunately ran out wide, and that's cost him his time for qualifying. Chris Biermeister holds on 4th place. Patrick Bells keeping himself going. Nico Lawrence currently 0.3 up on his time. Only one driver yet to set a time on the board, and that is Rick Thomas. Rick so far just dropping a wheel every which way possible, has been losing that time. He will be at the back of the field at this stage of the game if he can't get a time on the board. So Rick Thomas has got a bit of pressure on him to try and catch up to his teammates in this race, and especially his teammate in class, Chris Biermeister, for the Extreme Racing team. Christian Fingler for the Track Tool team, going and having a go out of the field, trying to see where he can move up. Christian currently running second and tied for second at the moment. Wants to make a solid effort to put himself to the top. Swings in through the second last corner, brings himself back up. He's 0.5 up on his time. This will be enough to get him into the top 5 if he can keep it all together. Out of the final corner, flat on the gas and across the line. He does move up to 7th position, just not able to improve to get into that top 5. And final corner, just losing out that little bit of time. Lewis Knight, however, currently 0.4 up on his time, has got a shot at it. He's going to be trying everything he can. Swings in through the second last, now keeping his foot firmly planted to the floor. Absolutely giving it everything he can, and down the straightaway, 0.4, heading 0.48. Is this going to be enough for him as he moves up into 3rd place? Lewis Knight boots Richard Van Heerden down into 4th. Rick Thomas holds on to 2nd, beating out his teammate Tristan Ocleon, still with a 128.342 to Rick Thomas's 128.352. So Rick just a little bit shy of that top spot in the gold division. Going to be seeing what he can do to stay in for the fight and hoping that he can score a few points for his championship. He's lying 11th at the moment. leading to try and see if he can close up to Chris Biermester, who's 7th in the championship. Biermester sits on 32 points. Rick Thomas sits on 26 points. There is a bit of an inter-team rivalry in there. Christian Fengler hoping to get a solid run, but not as much as Finley Gamble at the moment, who is leading out the championship. Has got 50 seconds now to go and see if he can get up into first place. Currently sitting second last in the division and will be trying to pull himself back up by 0.3 as they do come across the line. It's no improvement from the cars ahead of it. Finley Gamble able to move up to 9th, slightly nudging Cedric Muir down the order. Not enough to really make a solid impact, but now with 28 seconds to go, we're going to be taking a look towards our Platinum drivers. They will be heading out onto the circuit, and we can't wait to see what they can do. Now, the Platinum division has always been a bit of a busy one, and we got to see a bit of that rivalry from Platinum division bleed into round 1 of the Endurance last night as well, and a couple of drivers having a chat to one another saying, listen, I'm coming for you. There is no way of holding back, and that is one thing we've got to keep an eye out for, because there is that little bit of rivalry, that little bit of past blood coming back in. As Tristan Ockleon once again 0.2 up on his time. He wants to go and break it down to a 127, like you've seen the pros do it. Finley Gamble currently 0.2 up on his time, hoping that he can have a solid drive, but this is the last lap for many of these drivers in the gold division. Otherwise, they're going to have to pull into the pits, and already we do see a couple of drivers opting to stop, get it back into the pits, get themselves sorted. Finley Gamble going to give it one more shot, diving his way through. 0.1 up on his time, swings it out of the final corner, carried a lot of momentum there. Unfortunately, ran out a little bit wide as he boots it across the line, unable to improve. That is it, done and dusted for our gold division. Now let's take a look over to our Platinum, as there is an ongoing fight for first place. David Roth currently holds the first place mark in the Platinum division, with Henry Platt chasing him down. David Roth sits on 71 points and Henry Platt sits on 67 points. Chris Wall holds on to third place on 54 points, only 2 points ahead of Herman Whitner at the moment, who is trying to close down that gap and ensure he can be part of the order. So Herman sits on 52 points and, well, 4 points behind him. David Young trying to have a go and see if he can try and get past. So David Young for the Delta One Racing wants to get past the Team Extreme. Daniel Matsushima sits in 6th place with 32 points, and unfortunate and good to see him out here. And was missed out at Valencia, unfortunately missed out at Alton Park as well. So now just trying to recoup some points in the championship fight as he holds on. Andre Sorodia holds on 7th with 28 points. David Broschke in 8th, and Issam Domingo rounding out our field. So keep an eye out. Sorodia didn't have a good run at Alton Park, and neither did likes of Issam Domingo, who has missed out most of the rounds, bar Kailami. He's now trying to make up some time for this championship. But the championship fight between David Roth and Henry Platt still well enough alive with 2 rounds left in it. It's all about who can finish ahead of the pack and also capture that fastest lap single point to go and ensure they're in for a solid run. That can only be done during the race. Now they have to try and beat a 128.2 set by Tristan Ockleon, who was going on an absolute mission. He managed to open up some spacing, as you can see, 0.070 with Rick Thomas behind him. It's 1,000th of a second behind our leader. But now our Platinums surging onto the circuit, looking to try and make it work. As we jump on board with Henry Platt, the Moscow Motorsport is busy working with his long-term rival, Dago Krobler, and Jared Raccoon last night. Now has to see what he can do to try and take the fight up towards the sharp end of the field, especially to the championship leader David Roth, who bested them in the endurance. Well, Henry Platt is going to be carrying that momentum all the way through as we on board. You can can see those Gone Braves coming in. Henry Platt up into fifth, heading into turn one. It's up the hill on the anchors, turn it into the right, and get back onto the power as early as you can without having the rear kicking out. And as you can see, quite difficult to try and keep it all in check, and especially with those God Rays right in your eyes. That sunshine is absolutely great to have, but can be a pain. David Roth holds on fourth place, with Rich Van Heerden going and splitting Henry Platt and Roth apart. Herman Wepner ahead of Andre Serodio as they run 8th and 9th overall. David Young and Esam Domingo managing to get a time on the board. Chris Wall and Daniel Matsushima unfortunately hasn't got a time on the board as yet. They're still trying to pick up the pieces of their qualifying right now. So far, it is Herman Wepner, 0.4 up on his time, and Esam Domingo 0.5 up on his time. And I do see Herman still in the police livery as a tribute livery. He's opted to carry that through. It was meant for a single run in, well, it's meant for the Endurance Championship. They obviously enjoyed it and is now taking it to the top with a 128.235, narrowly just nudging Tristan down into second. Serodio up into third with the Honda NSX from Project Vapor, and he is absolutely booting it. Been trying to get better and better with the car, also practicing a lot in LMU of recent. David Roth next to come through and takes over the lead. David Roth has done a 4.5 hour stint in the last night's endurance race, and it looks like he hasn't missed a step here at Redbull Ring. So the trip from Italy at Misano all the way out to Austria at the Redbull Ring, formerly known as the A1GP, now trying to have a bit of fun with a 128.220, narrowly nudging out Wepner with that 0.015 at the top of the leaderboard. But it's still Tristan Lockleon that holds on to third place. No one's been able to beat him as yet, but there's still time on the board, as we do see Chris Wall 0.3 up on his time. There's over 4 minutes to go, and Chris Wall's currently sets the highest in terms of deltas. Is this going to be enough as he comes out in the final quarter? It does move him up into the top 10. He's going to be quite happy about that one, but now needing to find a little bit more time to get past David Young and Henry Platt to join up with the front duo ahead. Daniel Matsushima with a 0.1 ahead, and Esam Domingo is 0.4 ahead of the time. So absolutely giving everything can. Cut the corner a little bit too much on the final, and now trying to just boot himself across the line. He does move up into 15th position, forcing Daniel Matsushima down in towards 18th, and the lone solo driver having to contend with it. So far, no one's been able to beat David Roth, who sets an absolute stonker of a time, a 127.950. Once again, showing the fear of the bones, has not lost a step, especially after endurance. All these drivers are giving it absolutely everything it can. Serodio trying to really nail it down as he tries to get a little bit more pace underneath him. David Young along with Chris Wall trying to push a little bit harder. Absolutely nailing it through, doing whatever he can to move forward. Battling back from the brink. Serodio down on his time. Will not be having a good one. Wepner currently 0.1 up on his time. Chris Wall currently 0.2 up, and so is Daniel Matsushima, who does come across the line. Daniel is able to come across, sits 129.0. Unfortunately, not enough to lift him out of that 18th position, but definitely tried his best. David Young, unfortunately, putting a wheel off into the dirt, and that's going to be a time loss for him, as our Platinums, with 2 minutes and 26 seconds to go on their big final push. Platt hasn't got a time that can move him into the top 5 as yet. He starts to see that Serodio gets himself up into second place. Wepner up into third. Chris Wall, Henry Platt, David Young, Esam Domingo, and Daniel Matsushima rounding out our Platinums as it stands. And the only driver still out on track is Wepner. Wall, along with Platt, Young, Domingo, and Matsushima rounding out the pack. And it's going to be a wild one. The proper racing MS at McLaren try and stay in for the fight here. 0.4 of a second up on his time. Can he carry enough momentum to move him up into the top 10 and to at least try and take the fight to the sharp end of the field off qualifying? Or is it going to be a slug it out from the back situation, as he has got the same just a little bit quicker than Nico Lawrence, who was able to put in a time right at the end of the session for our gold drivers. Daniel Motsima not holding back around the final corner, 0.4 up. This is a good lap time for him if he can make it valid. Comes bailing out of the corner, crosses the line, and unfortunately invalidated the lap, so that is not going to help him out. He will be starting further down, but it has one more lap to get it done and dusted. Henry Platt is currently up on his delta, so is David Young. Herman Wepner going across the line is matching his last delta, unable to improve just as yet, but going to give it one big push down to the wire. There's some Domingo trying to give it a little bit of a go as well, but Rasa Rodeo, they have decided it is done, dusted. Chris Wall has decided enough. Herman Wepner has decided he's good with his time, and with now 37 seconds remaining before we release our Diamond Division, and it does look like Roth is going to be having an easy run to pull away from his championship rival of Henry Platt and Chris Wall, who are a little bit further down and will be staring at each other's doors at the start of this race. Well, that being said, there's still a little bit of time on board as we see David Young trying to get a little bit of pace. Unfortunately, calling it quits. Henry Platt 0.2 up on his time. Late on the anchors, throws the car in, gets onto the loud pedal as hard as he can to boot it across the line. Is it going to be enough? And Henry Platt does shoot himself up into fourth place. He is going to be looking at Herman Wepner and see the Extreme Sim Racing team, but also sitting right behind Sir Rodeo on the start of the race. Domingo coming across the line, unable to improve. And Daniel Matsushima comes across the line. He's unable to improve as well. This now leaves our Platinums to pull off to one side. They're out of the running. And next up is going to be our Diamond Division. A massive welcome to everyone out in the virtual grandstands. Wonderful to have you guys here. Ruin Heineke, Crazy Stunts, and Chantel. Good luck, everyone. And still at work. Oh, that's a bit unfortunate. Well, hopefully we can keep you a bit of company while you're at work. And thank you for joining in right here for the ERA Sunday Championship. And this is coming off the back of round one of our ERA Race Face Endurance Championship. So many of the drivers that you see on the screen right now have been racing in a 6-hour endurance. They had a couple of hours break and then back in behind the seats. So our diamonds out onto the track to look for their times, and Christoph Peterson currently holds the top of the board, looking to reignite his streak in the championship. He currently lies in first place with 79 points. Mahath Musa holds on to second place on 50 points. He missed out at Valencia, but is still giving it everything he can and looking to try and move up through the order. Rafa Sosa coming and joining us yet again. He missed out Indianapolis, he missed out Alton Park, but he's on 49 points, 1 point away from Mahath Musa for that second place, and going to do everything he can to stay in for the fight. Sean Skitter holds on to fourth place. He's on 46 points, only 2 points away from Ruin Heineke, who had a stellar effort last night in the Endurance Championship. Ernest Lindbergh sits on 44 points, and he is unfortunately not here tonight and will be missing out a few crucial points, while Miles Stone for the Fear of the Bones team will be out on the circuit looking to score a few points. He's on 26. Ahead of Stephen Milana James on 10 points. Begor Krobler sits on 8, and Jason Farmer unfortunately has yet to score a point this entire season. So a 127.9 is to be set by Roth. What can our absolute diamonds do? Let's see if we can maybe get an idea from one of our drivers, have a chat to Henry Platt to give us an idea of what is happening out on the circuit and how is it with the sunshine as you go up the hill. See if we can try and bring him up to come and have a chat to us here. Go and see if we can go radio comms. Henry Platt, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Absolutely wonderful, and hopefully refreshed after a massive 6-hour race that you got to have a little bit earlier. But now it is time to go racing. Second last round of the season. How are you feeling?
Not too great. I'm like 0.5 off my best here, so I had a horrible lap. The one I was actually up by like 0.3 and still could have gone 0.5 up. Screwed it up at the end. So now I'm starting mid-pack again.
Well, by taking
Hopefully
a
all
look
the
at Sean
diamonds can
Skitter-
go faster than Roth, so that I'm closer to him. That's the only hope now.
Well, it looks like it's going to be an interesting fight. Sean Skitter has just got into first place. Christoph into first, pushing Skitter down. Rafa managing to slot himself right in between yourself and Herman Webman's Rodeo. What is the game plan for the championship now? There's 2 rounds left in it. You're going to be carrying some success ballast for this race. What's the game plan? Early pit stop, late pit stop? We're not going to tell.
No, I'm not gonna tell, but I have a plan.
Yeah.
I was hoping to start a bit more forward, but we'll see. At least I could beat out all the gold drivers this time, because my quali times has been horrible this season.
And I've got to ask now, with driving on Red Bull Ring out where the sun is setting, it looks absolutely vicious going up and down the hills. How's it from a driver perspective?
The sun can actually be quite in turn 1. When you turn right, you can't see the exit, so you can't see the track limits there. And then I struggle to see in, I don't know, do you call it turn 2, the hard braking one? You sort of can't really see your braking marker there as well. So that's the only thing with the sun, but further I think the conditions are quite good. It should be good for the tires as well.
All right, well, we're looking forward to seeing how it all goes. Any last words you want to say to all the fans out in the VIP grandstands, keeping an eye on all the action and also cheering on the championship?
Yeah, no, thanks for everyone being here. Hopefully we can move up the field and give everyone something to cheer about. Thanks, Stephen.
Absolutely wonderful. Henry Platt, who we will be seeing out on the circuit in the Platinum Division. We are taking a quick look at a couple of the drivers out on track at the moment, and one of them being Mahath Musa, trying to find a little bit of pace at the moment in his BMW M4 GT3, and we'll be seeing what works out for him. Ultimately, it's always a tough time to stay at the sharp end of the field. Sean Skitter out in second place behind Peterson. He managed to do a 127.4. Skitter with a 127.6. Miles Stone with a 127.7. And Mahath Musa following in with a 128.0, going and splitting Roth and Sorodio up. So Mahath Musa giving his teammate a little bit of support there. Rafa Sosa down in 8th place at the moment for the Spirit Onyx team out in the McLaren. Is currently ahead of Aaron Heineke with that 128.1. The Griffin Sim Racing driver not hanging around right now. He's absolutely keeping his foot in it. But as qualifying is coming to a close, 3 minutes and 20 seconds remain. Peterson and Skitter have decided they're going to call it quits on their run and just take a look at what the field's doing. Miles Stone trying to push a little bit harder, cuts off a lot of the final corner, and unfortunately gets a little bit of a snap and calling it quits there. Could not find the grip coming out of the final corner, and that cost him a multitude of time. Decides to put the car. No use burning through the tyres. They've got 2 sets of tyres for the weekend, and those 2 sets of tyres you've got to make do for both the race and qualifying, which makes life a little bit more tricky out there, and does mean that you've got to either start on the used set of tyres or start on a fresh set of tyres and possibly go back to your old set of tyres. So depending on how much abuse you're willing to put through them is going to dictate how much grip you have got. It's 25 cars here tonight, 3 different classes here in Server 1. It is the second last round of the championship right here at the beautiful circuit of Red Bull Ring, and was reopened in 2011 after the liquidation of the A1GP that originally owned this track. But the circuit was opened up in the early 1960s. That it was opened up originally. It was reopened multiple times since then, and it's good to see it still in full flourishment at the moment. A Grade 1 circuit from FIA. Now, Mahath Musa currently a little bit up on his time. I don't think it's going to be enough to really break the bank here, as he does come across the line, does set a 128.075, just beating out his time of 128.076. So not a real quick lap for him, unfortunately, but it's still going to give it everything he can, while Rafael Sosa doing exactly that. he's trying to also find out a little bit of time. So far, fastest in Sector 1, but hasn't been able to improve to really make it work out in his favor, and just seeing where exactly can he close up that difference. Ultimately, this is going to be a hard drive from each of the competitors, trying to really knuckle down, find that little piece of give, and really move their way up the order with only 2 cars out on the track at the moment. Rafa and Mahath Musa, who are trying to push, and Rafa decides he's going to call it done burning off those tires. He's not going to go any higher than that. 4th position is where he's content. Well, Mahath Musa is the only car back out on circuit with 50 seconds to go. The Project Vapor driver trying to show that the BMWs are not completely out of the woodwork yet, because our top 5 is all mid-engines. 3 of them are Hondas and 1 is a McLaren. So that really does tell you how this race is starting to look like, as drivers are finding any form of grip, trying to see what is going to work for them and where are they going to be in this race. I mean, this is just an absolute monster of a run. But as our qualifying session has come to a close, we will see our drivers getting ready to hit the track right here in Austria. And it is a beautiful circuit of 4.3 kilometers, 10 corners, and reopened in 2011. But our drivers for the second last round will be looking for a solid run up through the order and seeing who exactly can stay in for the run. It's a 1 hour race, and as we spoke about, there is the success penalties. If you're joining us for the very first time, a massive welcome to you all right here at ERA. It's absolutely wonderful to have you all here, and we look forward to going and sharing some amazing racing with you tonight. But we're also going to let you know what the rules of engagement here are at ERA, because first of all, we've got the success penalties that come into play. 15 seconds if you came first in the last race, 10 seconds if you came in the previous, and 5 seconds if you came third. Now that happens to every single one of our classes, from the diamond all the way to the gold. They all have to deal with that bit of success penalties. And if they didn't race in the previous, they carry that success penalty over from the previous races. So do expect to see a couple of drivers sitting with a success penalty that didn't quite plan on it, now having to sit and try and figure out what is the next way of getting by. It's a 1 hour race with 1 mandatory pit stop as well, so drivers will have to really think outside the box here. And it's going to be Christoph Peterson starting out the pack. He's got a 15-second penalty on him, success penalty, with Mahath Musa, who came second in the class, gets a 10-second, and Ruan Heineke, who got his podium, will be a 5-second that he's going to have to work around. For our Platinum division, well, it was David Roth who got 3rd place and got 5 seconds, but now qualifying so high means that he's going to have a good run up through the order. Herm Whitner got 10 seconds for his troubles and was fighting out right until the wire for 1st place against Henry Platt at Alton Park, who came down to the last 2 laps to get it done and dusted and worked his way through. He's got a 15-second penalty. Chris Biermester will sit with a 15-second penalty for the very first time. He's going to have to really think about how he's going to work that success penalty into his pit stop. With Finley Gamble's got 10 seconds and Patrick Bell sits with 5. But you do notice there is others like we have with Serodio, who's got a 15-second time penalty, and that is one carried over from a previous event. So you're not getting away from thinking outside the box. You can't jippo the rules. It's all down to who can keep it going right here at Red Bull Ring for round 6 of the Sunday ERA Championship. And this is going to be a wild one. Season 18 is definitely coming down to the wire, and depending on the finishing order here tonight and who can work away that fastest lap time in their class during the race will be able to walk away as champion. But if that does not happen and we still have some close fights, it's going to come down to, like it's been every single round, has been who sees it at the end. And ultimately, that is where life gets a little bit tricky, and everyone is starting to look around, look at each other's doors. We heard from Henry Platt as he's got a plan. He's going to keep it close to his chest, much like many of the drivers that I've been chatting to. Same thing. We got a plan. We're holding it up to our chest. We're keeping ourselves sorted out. And we're not going to lose out on the championship. We're going to absolutely get it. Our all going and chatting to Chris Wall. He said he's gained for this race. He's absolutely enjoying it. It's one of the circuits he's done well at, and will continue to really go and fight his way out. So it's going to be a tough one. It's going to be an interesting one, and it's going to be a battle of note. Question is, who is going to walk away with the victory here as our drivers get ready for the start of the second last round. Everyone up on the jacks waiting for the timer to count down. Then they will drop down, taking the tyre warmers off the tyres. And get ready to run their race. Right here at the beautiful circuit of Austria. And it has been a championship of notes. It's been highs and lows for many of the drivers. But now it's time to see what they can do. And with many of the drivers looking towards a gold in the championships. 3 classes, 7 rounds, and now we're on round 6. Every point counts for our drivers to ensure that they can get a solid win. Let's go through who is where. Christoph Peterson out in first place with Sean Skitter in second. Miles Stone will start in third place with Rafa Sosa next to him. David Roth with Mahath Musa will be holding out on third row. Andre Sorodio and Herman Wepner will be next to one another. On with Ren Heineke, Henry Platt chasing down for that top 10. Tristan Lockleon leads out our gold division ahead of Rick Thomas and Lewis Knight. David Young slotting into 14th position. We'll have to deal with Richard van Heer, along with Chris Wall, Ulrich de Jager, Christian Fengler, Chris Biermester, Patrick Bells, Issam Domingo, Finley Gamble, Cedric Muir, Daniel Montesina, and Nico Lawrence rounding out the pack. Into the sunset they go. It is 7:45 in the evening here at Austria, and now our drivers will have to see what they can do, trying to generate some heat into the tires, trying to generate some huge amount of heat into the brakes, because there is some very hard braking zones into turn 1 and into turn 3. Now, while we talk about turn 3 instead of turn 2, it's because FIA says any turning angle that is 15 degrees or more of a steering angle counts as a corner. So even that little fast kink that you think is nothing, that actually counts as a corner as per the FIA's rulebook. Don't know who wrote it, but hey, they count that as a corner. It means that we're in for an interesting treat. And this is a FIA Grade 1 circuit that on paper has looked simple, but so far has produced some of the awesome racing we have seen in past seasons. Now having to do it all again. It's a track that's purely for slipstreaming, and it's all about getting yourselves lined up. If you're going to shoot for the inside, you best hope that you can get your foot on the throttle to get that drive. Otherwise, it's going to land up in a world of hurt. If you're stuck on the outside, you're going to be going right over track limits that can absolutely kill off your race in one foul swoop. As our drivers now make their way in towards the second last corner, you can see where the pit lane starts to come in. You'll see a solid white line where the drivers follow. But now, as they circle their way through, they're going to be told, slow down to 70 kilometers an hour. The sim stewards will keep an eye on it, making sure no one is out of position, no one is jumping, and they will go into their tram lines. Left and right, nose to tail, 70 kilometers an hour, and it's who will be on the gas first. Waiting, 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 waiting. Lights on, lights on, lights on. Lights off and away we go racing as they charge off the line. And it's a brilliant start from Peterson as the drivers all make their way into turn 1. Hard braking and people looking to go 2, 3 cars wide, 3 at the back. Lewis Knight, and it looks like Biermester, Richard van Heer unfortunately off, and it looks like he got clipped by one of the BMWs, and that's Christian Fengler who got caught out as well into turn 1. Multiple cars having multiple contacts. Let's quickly go and take a look. This is Fengler trying to go late on the brakes. He sees contact ahead of him. He gets clipped by Issam Domingo. Comes across the nose of Patrick But unfortunately, now at the back end of the field, we did see a bit of a problem come in for likes of Richard van Heerden as well, as he landed up getting twisted round. Sean Skitter up the inside of Milestone, forcing him down into third place. David Roth now onto the back of his teammate, trying to get pulled along. Rafa Sosa in the mix as well. Mahith Musa, Herman Wepner, and Serodio trying to give it a go. Henry Platt down the inside, gets past Ruben Heineke. Heineke shoved outside wide, and that's going to be Tristan Ocleon's time to go for the inside line. He really trying to hug that apex, ensure he can get a solid drive out, but Heineke is going to really open it up and gets past. He's got the drive to make it work. Immediately, Chris Wall smelling blood in the water, now trying to go after him. Chris Wall hoping that he can try and keep it up and going as Chris Biermeister trying to get a little bit more of a drive after they've swung a little bit further down the order. He has got Daniel Matsushima, Patrick Bells all onto the back of him. Finley Gamble as well, a championship leader in the gold, along with Nico Lawrence trying to make up some time after a devastating start to their race. Chris Wall getting past Tristan Ocleon now and will be on the hard charge. He's trying to catch up to Henry Platt. Up ahead, Platt going right into the toe, trying to really push along the likes of that is Serodio. Give him a little bit of a bump draft into the corner to try and outdo the likes of David Roth. And, well, it seems like it's worked a little bit more in Serodio's favor than Henry Platt's favor. Roth side by side with Serodio after that little bit of a bump draft coming in. No one getting caught out as yet. Late on the anchors as Roth tries to squeeze onto the side of Serodio. Couldn't quite make it work. The understeer came in and has to slot in behind. That opens up for Henry Platt to get right onto the back of him. And Ruben Heineke as well looking to join in the fight as he wants to move up through the order, which means Herman Wepner currently leads out the platinum. Peterson leads out the diamond, and Tristan Ocleon, who sits in the Mercedes, leads out the gold, trying to open up the gap to one another. So all of it comes down to slipstreaming and who can move forward. Chris Wall trying to keep himself in the mix. He sees Ruben Heineke ahead of him. Henry Platt just within arm's reach, and there's Tristan Ocleon trying to keep Rick Thomas and Lewis Knight at bay as they run second and third right behind him, and you can see how they're pulling along in tow, not wanting to be caught out. Chris Wall looked to go behind Ruben Heineke, dive for the inside. Tristan Ocleon goes back onto the racing line, see if he can sweep and go for an undercut on Chris Wall. He got the drive, amazingly so, and just tried boxing in. Chris Wall, unfortunately, coming to blows with Tristan Ocleon. Heineke getting caught out in the slipstream, and now Tristan stuck on the outside. We'll have Chris Wall take the inside line. Tristan goes for the undercut under Chris Wall. Lewis Knight trying to hold back Rick Thomas as the two of them go side by side, fighting out for the gold position. Absolutely amazing fighting happening early on. We also see Richard van Heerden trying to move his way back up through the order as he looked down the inside. A little bit of contact a little bit further on. That's, Daniel Matsushima and David Young having that little bit of contact, the two Ferraris. Two battling their way through. Lewis Knight mentioning get past Rick Thomas now. It's Lewis up into second place. Rick down into third. Tristan Ocleon still managing to open up the gap from his fellow competitors. Miles Stone trying to close up to Sean Skitter, who holds on for that second place. And as the drivers now starting to feel the tyres warming up and coming alive, they're going to be pushing it a little bit harder. Serodio onto the back of Wepner, trying to close up the gap as fast as possible. David Roth and Henry Platt trying to get onto the back of them as well. They're running first, second, third, fourth in class. Wepner leading out the platinum class at the moment. He's trying to open up that gap just a little bit more. Ruben Heineke now having to watch his mirrors as suddenly he's got first place in the gold division. Tristan Ocleon coming at him at a rate of knots, trying to close up and really see if he can get involved into the fight with Chris Wall right on the back. Chris Wall not afraid to go elbow to elbow as we saw, but Tristan is not afraid to return the favor as well. They nail it through turn 3. Now trying to iron out turn 4 into turn 5. Some great racing nonetheless, and it's still early days in the race. We've only had just over 5 minutes worth of racing right now, and the grid is still very, very close to one another. It doesn't matter where you are. Richard van Heerden to Finley Gamble is a good one to talk about. 21st and 22nd Immediately, we got Domingo that's hanging in for 23rd, and Nico Lawrence as well hanging in the back there. Christian Fengler finally starting to catch up and sees the train ahead of him. He's going to be thinking, yes, here's my chance to try and redeem after, unfortunately, pointing in the wrong direction off the start of the race. Chris Wall late on the anchors, trying to see if he can throw it down the inside of Tristan Ocleon. Couldn't quite get it done. The understeer coming out yet again. Hard on the brakes, cuts the corner, gets on the loud pedal as fast as possible. See if he can get a good exit heading up towards turn 1 as Tristan Ocleon didn't quite get the exit he wanted out of the final corner, but was able just to keep ahead. Had just a little less drag on the car compared to Chris Wall, and that helped him out. So some great racing out there. Drivers trying to see what they can do. Chris Wall and Tristan Ocleon giving a hard push as well. Ocleon late on the anchors, keeping Wall at bay. Ruan Heineke trying to keep pressure on Henry Platt now. He's managed to go up, and Henry Platt aiming for the attack on David Roth further up the road. Everyone in a slipstream problem right now where they can't get past one another. The trains of cars making things rather interesting, but you can start to save a little bit of fuel. Once you're in the train, you can start lifting and coasting and not losing too much speed to the rest ahead of you, especially if you are in Serodio's case, you can get a little bit closer. The fourth car can lose less time and use less fuel just by going and utilizing the slipstream ahead of them, but also loses that bit of error. So it's a bit of a give and take situation. Rick Thomas keeping the pressure on Lewis Knight, with immediately Cedric Muir onto the back of him. Cedric running out a little bit wide out in the Ferrari 296 at 68, trying to see if it can work a bit of magic behind him. Ulrich Diaga trying to make a little bit of time. He's got David Young onto the back of him, looking to try and get past. Young in the slipstream, trying to pull his way up towards turn 1. Thought about going for the pass and then decided, nah, not quite what I want to go for just as yet. Going to rather wait it out, seeing as there's an opportunity further down the line. As Ulrich Diaga starts to open up the gap a little bit more. Cedric Muir doing everything he can to try and close up on Thomas. Late on the anchors, tries to send it through, couldn't quite get it done. Immediately, Rick Thomas having to go defensive, switching up his lines. Instead of going on the attack, now starting to look in the mirrors and see where he's going to go in this one. Serodio all over the back of Mahayev Musa. The two Project Vapor cars working in tandem at the moment to try and keep each other up through the order. For Serodio, he's helping to try and keep Mahayev Musa in the game, but also Mahayev Musa is towing along Serodio to give a little bit of protection to Herman and Wepner, who's now behind, who got a phenomenal drive. Wepner now looking towards the inside. A little bit of nose to tail contact there, just with Wepner getting a good drive. He wanted that inside line, unfortunately couldn't quite get it done and had to bail out. That allows Serodio to immediately get back onto the back of Musa and get pulled along. Rafa Sosa not too far up the road from Musa, as now Musa switches his focus to go on the attack for that fourth place position as he needs to make up time. Remember, he's got a 10-second deficit he needs to make up, and will be a tough one indeed to try and circumvent at this stage of the game. Henry Platt once again going on the attack to David Roth, who has got a 5-second deficit to Henry Platt's 15-second that he's going to have to contend with. As Platt down the inside, can he get the drive on the Honda? No, he does not, and immediately has Heineke come at him. Heineke gets a far better drive out of turn 4 and turn 3 in towards turn 4 and turn 5. Henry Platt closes the door on Heineke. Heineke looked for the inside, couldn't quite get it done. Tristan Ocleon immediately closing up at a rate of knots, but this is all helping out Chris Wall from getting into the fight as well. So Chris is just seeing the brawl ahead of him, saying, yes, come on, let's keep this going. Keep fighting it out. I need to get a little bit closer so I can also start throwing my hat into the ring for the Platinum Division. Heineke, who is in the Diamond Division, now sits way down the order from where he wants to be. He's 6th in class at this stage of the game, and he is caught amongst a platinum battle and trying to pull himself along, involved into this fight. So it's a tough time out there, and we'll be trying to see what can move forward. How can he move forward is a better question, as Platt got the run out of the final corner. David Roth goes towards the inside. He's protecting the line. as they head up towards turn 1. It's going to be late on the anchors. Platt swings the car through, and it is a foul drive for David Roth, who not only loses out first place, but loses out to Ruin Heineke around the outside, and now having a drag race with Tristan Ocleon, who's going to have the inside line heading up into turn 3. Late on the anchors for all of our drivers, but Tristan Ocleon getting caught up behind Heineke, lost a little bit of drive. Chris Wall trying to get on the power as early as he can, as Roth down into 11th. Now we'll see if he can come back past first place in the gold division. Tristan Ocleon. Lewis Knight holds on second place with Rick Thomas holding on to third for the gold division. But it is a fight up at the top. Soroyo, Webner and Platt now leading out our Platinum. Peterson, Skitter and Stone hold on to the lead for our Diamond. And Roth, unfortunately, our championship leader in the Platinum, is getting into an unnecessary fight and a little bit of shoulder bash to go and get Tristan Ocleon out of the way. And that has now dropped him down behind Chris Wall, but has not gone and cost him time against the likes of Lewis Knight, who is nearly 2 seconds back. He's got Rick Thomas and Cedric Muir onto the back of him. David Young trying to close up on that train as well, with Daniel Mashima in 17th position. Chris Biermester trying to make up some time against Ulrich de Jager at this stage of the game. Miles Stone trying to have a look at Sean Skitter. Yet again, the 2 Honda NSX drivers not to be caught out. Logistical Nightmare Racing and Fear the Bones are in tow. Used to be partners in crime. Now they are seen as foes to one another. Peterson and Stone will be trying to concentrate on what they need to do to move up through the order. Skitter holding on for that second place. Now needs to keep well focused on the race at hand. Chris Wall gets a little bit of a poor drive as Tristan Ocleon down into 11th, tried to look for that pass. Lewis Knight gets around Herman Webner, who got it all out of shape. Webner, who was originally heading towards the sharp end of the field for our Platinum division, now unfortunately pointed in the wrong direction, and looks like he lost out a serious amount of time. So not quite what Webner wanted to have for the number 6 car, and it doesn't look like it was any contact that went and threw him down the order. So, I'm sorry, there was contact actually, and let's quickly take a look at that, as it was the number 5 having a run, clipping into Mahath Musa. He allowed Mahath to go, but that is where everyone gained some time on him, and that is how Whitner went out from the top 3 in down the order. Now he's behind Lewis Knight, trying to battle back for time. Lewis Knight not giving up the fight at the moment, holds on to 3rd place in class, and he wants to try and get a little bit of a push. Now Whitner's teammate is up ahead of him, sitting as Rick Thomas, and will be wanting to see if he can help out Rick Thomas in the same process. Mahath Musa getting overtaken by Tristan Ocleon and Chris Wall. He's going to nail it up on the outside, and it's going to be Ocleon who cuts him off. Tries to go around Chris Wall, who's got the inside line. Side by side they go. Mahath Musa trying to get on the power early enough. See if he can get a bit of a drag race down through. A little bit of contact coming in between Musa and Tristan Ocleon as they're running very, very tight to one another. Late on the anchors, Tristan Ocleon not able to get the pass from Chris Wall, but tries to also slam the door shut on Mahath Musa. Rick Thomas is involved in that fight as well. Lewis Knight has clawed his way into the brawl as well. So we are getting a number of drivers and classes all fighting for the same piece of road, and it's getting a little bit more wild out there, and the train is only getting bigger and bigger as time has gone on. Ocleon all over the back of Chris Wall, trying to close up that gap and see if he can go for the pass. It's going to be a tough one indeed. Looks towards the inside, second guessed it, not going to go through the double right here. He's going to focus on another charge up into turn 1. He's done it once before. Can he do it again to get a solid exit out of the final corner? It does look like Chris Wall also gets a solid exit on his run up through the order. And that is going to be David Young, first to pull into the pits. Young opting, he's going to get his pit stop done and dusted at the 44-minute mark, and hopes to go and get ahead of the rest of the field in one fell swoop. Is it going to be enough? Is it the right idea? Well, we're going to find out during the course of the race if that is the strategy at play that might be able to move him up through the order. Late on the brakes is Whitman trying to get that little bit more of a drive, seeing where he can go that extra mile. Whitner late on the power. Couldn't quite get past Lewis Knight, and immediately Cedric Muir having a chance to come flying back at him. Will be aiming for every opportunity to move up through the order. Christian Fengler now onto the back of Finley Campbell as they're fighting out for the gold division in terms of championship. And now they are sitting firmly square at the back, seeing the rest fighting it out. And a little bit further up the road from both drivers. Gamble and Fengler did not get the start that they wanted, and now starting to pay the price as well. Webner trying to get onto the back of Lewis Knight, who's not backing down. The Nissan GTR driver absolutely keeping his foot in it and making his car as wide as possible. That Godzilla is not going to allow for it. Oh, and there's contact. Webner into the back of Lewis Knight. That caused a whole concertina effect where Cedric Muir got a little bit of a bump. And now Lewis Knight, trying to turn that car around, is able to get going, but has dropped so far down to 22nd position. Well, make it 23rd, 24th, as he immediately gets overtaken by Finley Gamble and Christian Fengler. Herman Wepner gave a little bit of an argy-bargy moment there, and unfortunately, it was Lewis Knight who took the hit all the way down. And we saw him now trying to pull his way back from the back. Ulrich Diaga trying to go around the outside of Daniel Mutsushima. And Cedric Muir just ahead as they continue on the drive. But that has gone and changed up the race quite substantially for Lewis Knight. As Justin Ockleon leads, Rick Thomas in second. Cedric Muir holds on to third place in the gold division. Our platinums is Rodio, Platt and Roth at this stage of the game. And for our diamonds, it's Christoph Peterson, Sean Skitter, 0.4 of a second ahead of Miles Stone, with Rafa Souza sitting on for that 0.4 of a second behind. As we do see Webner going off into the dirt. Webner once again having a little bit of a nightmare affair. What on earth happened to him? So he's got Ulrich Diaga in front of him, Daniel Mutsushima in the McLaren. And did he try and get past Ulrich Diaga? So side by side they go, heading into the left-hander, hard on the anchors, does try and turn in, and it's going to be Ulrich Diago clipped the curb, unfortunately bounced into Herman Wepner. That sent him flying and losing a bit of time. Ulrich Diaga as well, not having the easiest of time out there, but it does allow Fengler and Knight to gain a little bit of position, as now Finley Gamble a little bit further down the order, trying to pull his way back in towards this fight. So been a race and a half for some. Others, it's been a little bit more difficult to try and keep it out of the walls and out of each other right at this stage of the game. Always going to be a very, very difficult situation. And honestly, I think it is going to be a hard-fought race all the way through. Rich Vanieta trying to look on the inside of Patrick Bells, and they have got Nico Lawrence right on the back of them as well. So any pass that's failed to happen, well, Nico Lawrence is going to put his nose in to see if he can do anything. Patrick getting blocked off by Richard Vanieta. Nico Lawrence stuck around the outside, opens up the door, swings across the nose of Issam Domingo, who tried to see if he can go in for the inside. The Track Tool team getting past Patrick, but only just right now, and that's pulled Issam Domingo through as well. Patrick had to tap off, lost that little bit of time, and not able to get past immediately. Domingo down the inside, a little bit of contact between himself and Nico Lawrence, with Domingo managing just to econ through. Wetner getting past Patrick Bells as he continues on the drive. And seeing where in this order he can go. A little bit of argy-bargy situations coming into play as Sorodio late onto the brakes, gets past Rafa Sosa, was absolutely trying to slow that car down, didn't want to turn in and get a snap oversteer, and on the process, Rafa down into fifth, Sorodio up into fourth and leads out his class. Skitter trying to keep on to the back of Miles Stone, who's eventually gotten around him, and now Miles will look to carry on that momentum to see it through to the end. It is a fight for the championship, and every point counts. Doesn't matter where you are, you got to try and push your way through it. Issam Domingo and Richard Fanieta going and racing one another. Two drivers that know each other oh so well, the two South Africans. Now it's going to be late on the brakes. Richard trying to turn in, seeing the big BMW there, trying to also close the door because Nico Lawrence slots in. Oh, he went a little bit too much on the gas. Nico Lawrence got on the gas and spat himself into the wall, damaging that McLaren. He tried to go and put his nose in, get on the power a little too early, lost the rear end of the car and got chucked into the wall, causing sufficient damage to his car. And now tapering down the order. Herman Whitner seeing an opportunity here, looking to try and move his way up, as sees Richard van Heerden up ahead of him. Richard currently lying 5th in class, along with Herman Whitner, who's lying 6th in class at the moment. With 38 minutes to go in this race, drivers need to start trying to figure out what are their tires starting to feel like. Are they going to do a full race on the same set of tires, or are they going to try and swap out their set of boots? Christian Fengler getting past his teammate Nico Lawrence, who's got a bit of damage to it, and looks like Christian Fengler going in, picking up a drive, getting a limit there. Finley Gamble into the pits, so trying to see if he can go for the undercut. Ulrich Diaga and Patrick Bell's just running in tow. As the three BMWs finally square up against one another. Whitner trying to outrun Richard van Heerden, look towards the inside. Once again looking towards the inside. Richard down the middle of the course, managing just to slow it down enough. Had to open up the steering as Whitner got very, very close in towards the back of him. And Richard not backing out of the fight. He is a driver that is not afraid to go and get elbows to elbows, including he's done a few moments where he will take you towards the dirt. He will walk you to the fringes to try and hold his position. Tristan Ockleon getting clear of Chris Wall, who dives into pit lane. So Chris Wall looking for the undercut here. See if it's going to help him out, as he did notice that David Young and Finley Gamble have both gone into the pit. So Chris Wall is hoping for that to be the right choice come the end of the race, that they have enough time to go and move their way up through the order. David Roth hoping to keep a solid drive. Mahath Musa trying to keep onto the back as it's nose to tail right through the field, and everyone trying to see what they can do to go that extra mile. Pit stops already starting to come into effect as Nico Lawrence unfortunately runs into the wall. And let's see what happened to Nico Lawrence. Can't quite find him, unfortunately. He looks like he has completely disconnected. McLaren just going and calling it quits. He's heading up towards turn 1. We'll probably see what happened from here as he went over the curb. Just went over the curb and spun himself out as Christian Fengler went once again a little too wide, lost that time, but Nico Lawrence just couldn't get that corner right and has called it quits due to too much damage on the car. That is unfortunate to see for the Track Tool team driver. Sean Skitter remains on the hunt for milestone. Christoph Peterson now 6.3 seconds up the road from them. Henry Platt sits in second place. He's got Rafa Sosa ahead of him in that McLaren, and just ahead of that you can see the blue and red of the Project Vapor Honda NSX trying to open up the distance. Currently lying first in the Platinum class. Tristan Ockleon in the Mercedes holds on first for the Gold Division, with Rick Thomas and Cedric Muir trying to close down that time. Ulrich Diaga pulls into the pits, so he's opting to try and get himself sorted out and be the first one out ahead of Chris Wall. It's going to be a very, very quick pit stop to make that happen. David Young also has done his pit stop, so has Finley Gamble. So Ulrich Diaga trying to keep an eye out for where Gamble is out on circuit, and if that's going to help him out in this race as Chris Wall starts to come up towards the second last corner. He will be putting his foot on the power, and will it be enough for Diaga to come out and lead out the train of those who have done pit stops? Well, it's going to be a tough one. Diaga still on pit road getting refueled. Here comes Chris Wall as we do see another car coming into the pits, and that is our leader, Peterson, into the pits. Christoph Peterson into pit lane, which goes and gives Milestone and Sean Skitter a run for first and second as they need to open up the gas. Peterson has got a 15-second time that he needs to try and shake off in the process, and will be eyeing it out. Sorodio up into third, Rafa into fourth, Henry Platt up into fifth, who's keeping up a solid drive. Heineke up into 6th position. Heineke is still going. David Roth dives into the pit. So Roth is into pit lane. And he's going to be trying to get rid of his penalty as well. Trying to get himself sorted for the race. Platt keeps the pressure on Rafa Souza right now. Daniel Mochishima in 9th position, going on to the back of Cedric Muir, as we're starting to see who is going to be able to get the run here and what was going to be the right call for our drivers. Chris Wall is leading out those that have done their pit stops. He's going to have to try and get past Mr. Christoph Peterson, David Roth, and Tristan Ocleon at this stage of the game, who have just pulled into the pits. Lewis Knight is the last of those that have not pitted as yet, but is keeping a very, very close eye on the situation as well. He's fighting on with the BMW of Patrick Bell's just ahead of him, and Patrick not making it any easier out there. Lewis having to look down the inside line with the Nissan GTR. Once again, he thought about it, baited it, didn't go for it, then went for it. Was just unnerved right there under braking and wasn't quite sure whether he was going to get it done and dusted. Was able to finally get the nose through, but Patrick is fighting back, still keeping that nose by the B pillar. Unfortunately, had to peel back for the next set of corners. Peterson now leads out everyone that has done their pit stop. Chris Wall up into 2nd place, along with David Young, David Roth, along with Tristan Ocleon, Ulrich de Jager, Mahai Thamusa, Finley Gamble. As it looks like we've had yet another retirement coming in. We're down to 24 cars, unfortunately. Drivers not having an easy time out there. Lewis Knight dives into pit lane. Sean Skitzer, Daniel Muchino diving into pit lane as well. So everyone trying to figure out what is going to be the big game plan here. Henry Platt sits on the back of Rafa Souza, who is just running slightly ahead. Sean Skitzer hoping that he could get a solid run and beat out Rafa, beat out David Roth, and beat out Christoph Peterson, who is running just ahead at the moment. So Christoph Peterson leading out those that have done their pit stops. But is it enough for Sean Skitzer to try and get rid of his penalty? A drive-through penalty coming out for Tristan Ocleon, and that's a drive-through for track limit succeeded from leading out the entire gold division. Unfortunately, he has to revisit the pit lane and go down the pits for a drive-through penalty. That's going to take him out of the top 3. And at the moment, Rick Thomas, Cedric Muir, and Richard Finierto are not going to complain about that one. They're going to be more than happy to get it done. As Fingler comes on by, Richard going and losing the car. We spoke about him doing well. Unfortunately, lost the car and now spirals down the order. Patrick Bells, Chris Biermester, Christian Fingler all getting their one up on him. Rafa into the pits, and we can see immediately right behind him, there is Miles Stone out in the Nissan, in the Honda. He's into the pits, and that's going to allow Rick Thomas and Cedric Muir to come on by, taking over their spots, moving up the order. So Sorodio, Platt, Heineke, Thomas, Muir currently run into the top 5, as Rafa Souza, Stone, and Domingo all peel into the pits, trying to see if it's going to help him out in this race, see what they can do to make up some time. David Young keeps the pressure on to Sean Skitzer as it stands, as everyone's done their pit stop. Skitzer currently seeing what he can do. He's gotten ahead of Christoph Peterson. So Skitzer once again going to lead out the train of everyone that's done their pit stops, fighting in 2nd place to keep it all up and going. The question is, can he keep that drive going a little bit further, as Christoph Peterson holds on for 2nd place. At the moment, Rafa holds on to 3rd, with Miles Stone just coming out of pit lane. So Skitzer having a phenomenal run, now in 10th position, will continue on the drive. Tristan Ocleon will have to pit and get that drive through sorted out, or risk having a penalty coming in. Our drivers trying every which way they can to see what's going to work out for them. Currently, a great fight going on. David Young and Chris Wall that have done their pit stops. They are fighting hard for positions right to the end, not wanting to get fouled up all the way through. They are absolutely hoping that they can keep a solid drive. So Rodio and Heineke now into the pits, means Platt up into 1st place. Going long on this one. He did say he was keeping the plan close to his chest, and well, going along seems to be the ideal one for him. But can he keep up that pressure? As Rick Thomas, Cedric Muir, Christian Fengler, Chris Biermster as well getting into the fight. He's also going to go that little bit longer. He's on to the back of Christian Fengler, who had a problem at the start of the race. Webner into the pits, Rodeo into the pits as well. So now it comes down to last of the Platinums to get in the pits. It's Henry Platt, Rick Thomas, Cedric Muir, Fingler, Biermister, and Patrick Bells are the only of our gold division that are to pull into the pits, and that cycle is pretty much all done and dusted. So as it runs at the moment, our diamond division is Sean Skitter out in first place with Christoph Peterson in second. Rafa Souza holds on to third place in the class. Miles Stone in fourth, with Ruan Heineke holding on to that fifth place spot in the diamond division. Arthur Musa holding on to sixth, all the way down in 22nd position. Chris Wall trying to make up some time. He's in 12th place, just coming past pit lane, heading up towards turn 4. And, well, sorry, turn 3, gets on the power and trying to sling his way through behind Heineke. Not getting the drive, however, and will be battling to see if he can make it work out in his favour. Rick Thomas dives into the pit. Cedric's going to go a little bit longer. Will Christian Fengler go in a little bit longer? Yes, he will. Chris Biermister is following suit as well. And Patrick Bells into the pits to get himself sorted out. So we're already seeing the last of the pit stops coming in, with only Henry Platt, Cedric Muir, along with Christian Fengler, Chris Biermister, and that is it. Running out our drivers that are still yet to pit. And immediately Ulrich Diaga, Sorodio, and Lewis Knight all keeping an eye on one another. Each trying to see what they can do with 27 minutes remaining in this race. Who can go the extra mile? Who's going to be able to pull each other along to go and hope the undercut has worked? Well, Ulrich Diaga at the moment, unless Thomas and Bells are not able to go and get themselves out the pit, Ulrich Diaga will be taking a provisional second ahead of Thomas and Patrick Bells, but that is if they don't come out in time. Rick Thomas comes off the button and starts accelerating. He is now moving up the order, and Rick Thomas managing just to get ahead of Patrick Bells, and Ulrich Diaga into turn 1. Was not quick enough to get Rick Thomas, but now puts on the chase to try and carry the momentum through. He's ahead of Patrick Bells. Lewis Knight also gaining some time as well. Chris Wall is in a provisional first place, depending if Platt is not able to get out of the pits in time, as we do see Ruan Heineke fighting out against Chris Wall, heading in towards turn 5. Chris keeps the pressure on him, and right behind them is David Young, also looking to fight it out. Christian Fengler gets a drive-through penalty for track limits exceeded. Christian Fengler, track limits exceeded. This is going to cost him in the championship, and a run he did not want to have, as this will knock him out of the top 3. He was fighting for second. He was worried about losing second. Well, flirted with track limits 3 times. He was told no, 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 and now he gets the big wooden swoon. Unfortunately, a drive-through penalty. Chris Biermister's got a 15-second penalty he's got to overcome. Cedric just needs to pit, and then he's done and dusted to carry on for the rest of his race. So he's the only one of the 4 drivers that hasn't got a problem, and will be looking to try and eye out that little bit further. Chris Wall trying to deal with David Young onto the back of him, the Delta One racing driver, not holding back right now. Sorodio trying to close up to the Griffithson Racing. He was a little bit further up the road. Absolutely great racing all the way through. Tristan Ocleon, despite everything, was a driver that started out qualied in first. He was the fastest out on track for the gold division. Unfortunately, the drive-through penalty plus a pit stop has thrown him down into 24th position, and now trying to make up some time. Fastest lap of the race is held by Christoph Peterson, and will be maximizing that single point in the Diamond Championship with a 127.7. Looking at Henry Platt, so 128.5. And it looks like he may be the quickest of our Platinum, just by a little bit. So he's got a 128.502 with Sorodio 128.512. So very, very close in those times. So Platt still holds on to the fastest lap in his class. But it is going to be a look over to our running in the gold class. Cedric has got a 128.9 as his quickest. A little bit further down, Chris Biermester sits into a 129.1. Not able to improve there. And who else has got good time into the 28s in our gold division? 128.97 would be Rich van Heerder that holds the fastest time in the gold division. So he'll be scoring that extra 1 point to come and work out for him. I'm hoping that he can move up through the order like that. So Richard van Heerder holds the fastest lap time in the gold. Henry Platt in the platinum. And Christoph Peterson holds out the fastest lap in the diamond division. Chris Wall now leads out the platinum division with David Young on the back of him in second, and Henry Platt holding on to third now. Now needs to try and fight his way through. He's got Daniel Mochishima closing up onto the back of him. David Roth and Isam Domingo rounding out the pack as we do see Fengler coming into the pits. He's going to be serving his drive-through penalty. Then we'll have to go back in, and it looks like it is him out of the race. So it looks like he may have just retired the car. Fengler, unfortunately, not seeing it through to the end with the drive-through on top of it, will be going and looking back and saying, nope, unfortunately, you're not going to see it through to the wire. Team opting that it's not worth it being out there. It's quite unfortunate to see. Generally, I always say, you got to, once you see the green, you got to see the checkered. You got to fight through until the very last of it. And well, sad to see a couple of drivers haven't been able to do that. Both Tractal team drivers, Nico Lawrence and Christian Fengler, out of the race so early on. And unfortunately, will not be seeing the end. Wepner trying to go down the inside. Patrick Bells, who opens up the corner of turn one. And Wepner saying thank you very much. He gets that done and dusted, trying to open up the distance. Wepner hoping to close up to his fellow drivers up the road from him. Chris Wall keeps pressure on Ruan Heineke. Can't quite find his way by. Cedric Muir, the only driver yet to do his final pit stop. And he's going in very, very long, trying to see if he can open up the distance away from the rest of the field. His target is to get ahead of Rick Thomas, who is in a provisional second place, heading into a provisional first place in the gold division. And hoping that's all going to eye out. Well, Ruan Heineke is a cork in the bottle here for Chris Wall. He's got David Young and Henry Platt right onto the back of him, and Daniel Mochishima as well, 0.7 onto the back of him, trying to see where he can move forward. Ulrich Diaga has got likes of Lewis Knight, the Good Smile Racing team, going after the Griffin Sim Racing, the GSR, hoping to get a stellar drive here tonight. Herman Wepner trying to open up the gap. He's got Patrick Bells, Rich van Heerder, Tristan Ocleon, Finley Gamble, our championship leader, in 22nd, and Chris Biermster rounding out the pack in 23rd. Biermster from a victory, and now having that 15-second that he needed to try and shake off, has lost out a fair chunk of time here. Chris Wall trying around the outside of Heineke, looks for a cutback, wasn't quite enough room to swing that big long nose of the Aston Martin back in, and lost out a bit of time. Now trying to go down the inside, heading in towards turn 4 and turn 5 because of the kink. And there is a late on the brakes for Chris Wall, trying to move Heineke over and see if he can get past Heineke, not backing down from the fight, and still side by side they go. And this is just going to allow David Young and Henry Platt to start eating up that time that Chris Wall wanted to go and put a little bit of distance between himself and the rest of the field. As Cedric Muir finally into the pits, giving the lead back to Sean Skitter, who now leads out his class 3.8 seconds ahead of Christoph Peterson in second place. Rafa Souza up into third. Miles Stone, Ruan Heineke all joined on by as they try and go that little bit further in towards the race as they battle on for the Diamond Division. Chris Wall, David Young, and Henry Platt hold on to the top three of the Platinum, with Daniel Mochishima in fourth place, David Roth in fifth, and Isam Domingo holds on sixth position, Rodeo seventh, and Herman Wepner holds on to the final spot in the Platinum Division. For our golds, well, Rick Thomas manages to take over the lead of the race, as we do see Cedric now coming up the pit lane. He's hoping to get ahead of Ulrich Diaga, and looks like he may just do so. Ulrich Diaga comes out of turn one, He does see Cedric Muir up ahead, so Cedric now into second place of the gold division. He's got Andre Sorodio on the back of him, who is a platinum division driver, so no pressure there. But Ulrich Diaga is not too far behind, and he's bringing Lewis Knight in for company as well. Lewis not backing down from this fight. He wants to absolutely give it horns. Patrick Bell's trying to make up some time to Richard Van Eerde just ahead of him as they nose to tail on the way through. Phenomenal fighting up and down through the order. Everyone trying to sink in those last little bit of time, trying to see where exactly they can move forward. Ruben Heineke holding on to the top 5. He does not want to lose an overall top 5, but also he's got some extreme pressure from Chris Wall, who does not want to lose out his drive. David Young all onto the back of him with Henry Platt, 0.3 of a second. Platt trying to see if he can get that little bit more of a run on David Young. Goes out wide. I think Henry Platt is on an old set of tyres now. He has not swapped out and trying to just deal with what he can right now. See if it's going to work out for him. But Platt late on the anchors, sending it right to the back of David Young. Couldn't quite get the pass into turn 1. Fouled up his exit, and that's allowed Daniel Matsushima to get onto the back of him. David Roth has an opportunity now as well, as he's now started to close up the gap. Depending on where Platt and Roth finish in this race will dictate how the championship is starting to sway. So what Platt is hoping for is to gain a couple more positions, get ahead of David Young, get ahead of the pack as Sorodio gets a drive-through penalty for track limits exceeded. That is going to absolutely hurt his chances of moving up through the order. He was fighting against Cedric Muir, just puts a wheel off wrong, got the 3 warnings, and now drive-through penalty incurred as well. That's going to throw him further down, and it's going to help out Herman Whitner to go and gain yet another position in class. Richard Van Eerde defending against Patrick Bells at the moment, only just managing to keep that nose forward, but not able to open up the gap too far up the road from them. Henry Platt trying to keep the pressure on young Chris Wall as well, as we now into the final stage of the race. Sean Skitter leads out 3.5 seconds ahead of Christoph Peterson, along with Rafa Souza up into third. Miles Stone and Ruben Heineke hold on to the last of the top 5 overall and top 5 in class. Chris Wall holds on for first place in the Platinum Division, with David Young in second, Henry Platt in third, Daniel Muchmo along with David Roth, Isam Domingo. Andre Sorodio comes in for his drive-through penalty, and that is going to allow Herman Whitner to get an opportunity to go and claw up another position. So Whitner will overtake Sorodio for class position. Myth Musa sees his teammate doing the drive-through, unfortunately for track limits exceeded. And that's going to help out the Extreme Sim Racing team, as Henry Platt drag racing against Daniel Matsushima. That's going to help out David Young, the two of them having a full-on go, and Platt trying to just close the door on Matsushima, is not backing down from this one. Tries to put that McLaren right down the inside of the BMW and couldn't quite get it done, but definitely fouled up Platt just enough to allow David Young to start opening up that little bit of a gap, and allows David Roth to get a bit closer into the fight as well. Roth seeing an opportunity here that may be helping him out for the championship. Well, all he needs to do is try and finish ahead of Henry Platt to once again extend the points in the championship and also allow for that pass to go and happen. So his best interest right now is to will Matsushima to get by and force Henry Platt further down the order. Lewis Knight fighting out against Ulrich Diaga, third place on the cards for the gold division. Ulrich Diaga and Lewis Knight not going and having an easy time, as David Roth now onto the back of Matsushima, trying to push out a little bit harder. Chris Wall still onto the back of Ruben Heineke. He's still the cork in the bottle here and has got a monstrous train behind him. Heineke holding on to that top 5 only just, but he knows one lift wrong, one lift off the gas, and he is going to have a multitude of vehicles coming at him at a rate of knots. Platt trying to go around the outside, getting a solid run on David Young into the slipstream, but just not pulling himself along just quick enough. He looks down the inside, goes for the sense, backed out of it though. He really had that look. Unfortunately, a late decision of him pulling back in towards the toe. That allowed Daniel Matsushima to close up that gap quite a bit. Lewis Knight trying to tail in on the back of Ulrich Diaga. Shows his hand early. Wants to go down for the inside line. And it's going to be Ulrich Diaga sweeping across the nose. Gets onto the power, pulling himself along. Side by side they go. And ultimately it's going to be Lewis Knight stuck on the outside through the left-hander. And Ulrich Diaga managing to maintain that third in class right at the moment. Lewis battling back, trying his absolute damnedest to stay in the championship. He's 6th in the championship. He's the defending champion in the gold, and at the moment is absolutely fighting his heart out to try and get that last spot on the podium here at Red Bull Ring for the semi-final of our ERA Sunday Championship for season 18. Heineke, Chris Wall still having a go, but it is nose to tail. No one's able to move up. Everyone just judging what they can do. How far are they willing to go? It's going to have to be late sends from the entirety of the field to try and get those passes done. Everyone running into the same problem, just not getting the drive and stuck in a slipstream train that is just keeping everyone alive that little bit further, waiting for that one little mistake. In 13 minutes, well, we're going to have to see who's going to let go. Lewis Knight trying to get the drive a little bit squirrely, coming out of turn 3, getting on the gas and couldn't quite get past Ulrich Diaga. Absolutely trying to close up the gap. Late onto the anchors, throws it towards the inside line, trying to take it as tight as possible and seeing if he can get the run. Unfortunately, understeering out, costing him a bit of time, and he is not able to get round past Ulrich Diaga just as yet. Chris Wall around the outside and loses out time as Ruben Heineke gets around him. And oh, Chris Wall comes back. He's knocked into Henry Platt. Henry Platt is able to save the car only just, but David Roth going past him. And that was a bit of a moment coming in for Chris Wall. And let's try and go back 30 seconds to see what happened out there that caused the whole problem. As he went down the inside, he got nicked up against the wall by the likes of Ruben Heineke. He's able to bring the car back. He kept accelerating. He came right back into the field. And that landed up with Henry Platt going and pointing in the wrong direction. He loses out time to Daniel Mutsua and loses out time to Roth. And now has to try and pull his way back up through the field. So Chris kept his foot in it, I think out of pure frustration there. And it's went to cost him a bit of time. As we do see Roth trying to go around the outside of Daniel Matsushima, and immediately Henry Platt trying to see if he can capitalize on this as well, trying to see if he can get past the championship rival as the three cars run next to nose to tail. Roth keeping a solid defense while going on the attack, trying to hold back Platt at this stage of the game, and also see if he can get past Matsushima to try and put a car in between the two of them and see if he can have that little bit of a blockade at the moment. While Chris Wall just slightly up the road from these three, trying to recover his drive, with David Young now leading out the field with Chris Wall in second. Matsushima holding on to third, not wanting to lose out his run in the position. Roth in fourth with Henry Platt holding on to fifth place. So it's getting a little bit wild up and down through the order in towards the last stage of the race. We do see David Young trying to go down on the inside of Heineke, and he's got it done and dusted for now. And will he be able to keep that drive going? Heineke trying to go and get that little bit of a push, as we do see Chris Wall going and giving a bit of a flash there, saying, come on buddy, I'm coming up to you, don't get too wild. Gonna look down for the inside. He's absolutely gonna get on the gas. Chris Wall gets his drive fouled up as Young loses out the drive around the outside. It is going to be Young now trying to get a little bit more of a drive around the outside of Heineke. Chris Wall's going to go down the inside. Wall is going to send it. Couldn't quite get it done. He does get past Young. It allows Matsushima to get in the mix as well. He looks to go side by side with Young. And that has also brought in Roth into this mix. It is an absolute brawl down in the Platinum division. And it's all down to this, as we do see Young goes out wide. Matsushima moves up into second. Roth holds on for third. Young into fourth. Platt into fifth place. And Chris Wall going right back to where it all started. Right back to Ruben Heineke, where it all turned into a big, big mess Myth Musa getting past Ulrich de Jager, but it's Lewis Knight up into 3rd place in the gold division as we keep an eye on this absolute slugfest that's going on right now. Mutsushima trying to fight out against Chris Wall, and it's going to be the Japanese driver up into turn 1 against the UK driver, and unfortunately for Chris Wall, he was not able to carry too much momentum there. Mutsushima goes out wide, going and getting a track limit warning, but he was still able to keep his foot in. Chris Wall slips down to 2nd. Roth getting a good exit, trying to go around the outside. Chris Wall trying to lean on him a little bit there. Young falls behind Platt as they get onto the brakes, heading into turn 3. Chris Wall trying to go down the inside, and Matsushima couldn't quite get it done. And Roth immediately closing up that rate of knots. Red Heineke trying to check out of the fight as fast as possible right now, not wanting to be caught up in the mix. Wall down the inside and tries to defend the line. Roth looks around the outside. Henry Platt just holding on. He can see where this is going and just trying to find his line. Roth up into 2nd, and now comes Chris Wall, elbow to elbow. Roth lands up into the marbles, trying to bring the car back, and he immediately sees the championship rival get past. Henry Platt managing to just scoot on by after that little bit of a that side-to-side contact that was had by Chris Wall, and Platt now looks for a bit of a defense. Quick flash of lights to Chris Wall saying, come on buddy, we got to work together here, we got to try and open up that gap. Mutsushima leads out in the platinum, and he is going to absolutely keep his foot buried in this one. He does not want to lose out that drive. Young now trying to have a look at Roth and got a far better drive. Roth trying to guard the inside line, heading into turn 1, late on the brake zone for both drivers. They swing on through, and it is going to be Young able to get going. Roth gets it all types of wrong. Slide contact, and that is Roth into the wall. Roth into the wall, and down the order he goes. He is trying to get himself back up and going, but that is absolutely fouled up his drive, and now we'll immediately see the rest of the field coming through, because here comes Myth Musa following on with Lewis Knight just ahead of him. Lewis 3rd in his class. Roth able to get going, keeping ahead of Herman Whitner, but only just at this stage of the game. My heavens, this is a race and a half, and where are they going to keep going? Where is the fight right here at ERA? And absolutely turning into a mission for each of our drivers to give it that last little bit of a push. At the moment, Ulrich de Jager trying everything he can to close up the distance to Lewis Knight. See if he can get back involved, as we do see Chris Wall out into the dirt. Chris Wall into the dirt. What happened there? So here is Henry Platt and Chris Wall. They went side by side, but it all go wrong. Chris Wall tried to close off the gap, and here comes Henry Platt to guard the inside line. Chris Wall trying to close it off. Unfortunately, runs out wide. Over the curb he goes and gets a little bit of an elbow nudge there. Doesn't lose too much time, has to straighten up the wheel, gets it all wrong, and immediately lands up into the dirt, trying to bring it back. That's allowed David Young to get on by. So Platt leads with David Young in 2nd place. Isam Domingo up into 3rd. Mutsushima into 4th. Chris Wall into 5th. And now Rick Thomas trying to catch up. He is leading out the gold division with Cedric Muir running in 2nd place. Myth Musa getting past Lewis Knight, as David Roth is the next one to put a bit of pressure on him. Sean Skitter leads out with 6 minutes to go overall and in class for the Diamond, with Christoph Peterson now 2.5 seconds behind. Rafa Sosa holds on to 3rd, trying to close up the distance. Miles Stone in 4th place, and Ruud Heineke running out the top 5 of our Diamond division. Top 5 overall. Myth Musa holds on for 6th place, down in 13th at this stage of the game. David Young trying to close up that distance onto the back of Platt, trying everything he can to get involved in the fight. Roth down the inside of Lewis Knight, not too much argument there. And Lewis Knight opens up the door for Roth, saying, listen, not my fight, just pull me along, protect me at this stage of the game, because right behind him is aiming for 3rd place in class, Ulrich de Jager, the South African, now trying to take on the Englishman and see what he can do here. De Jager giving a solid fight, but so far Rick Thomas leads. The Frenchman of Cedric Muir holds on to second place. He has been out of the running for quite some time, but he's going to enjoy the podium once again and see if it's going to help him out in the long run, as Ulrich Diaga looking to try and settle the score against Lewis Knight for that third place. Rich van Heerden trying to keep on the fight with Tristan Ocleon right behind him. They're running so far 5th and 6th in position, with Patrick Bells a little bit further down. Finley Gamble and Crispy Imster rounding out the field at the moment. Had a great run at Alton Park, but it seems like right here at the Redbull Ring, not quite turning into what he wanted to have. Young trying to push a little bit harder to get onto Platt, but it's going to be a big look around the outside. Lewis Knight having a go at David Roth late on the brakes, and Lewis Knight is able to just cleanly get through as Roth loses out that little bit of time, and it puts a car between Knight and Ulrich Diaga, which is exactly what Lewis Knight wants and needs to have to try and hold back Diaga just that little bit more into the race. Try and see if he can hold on for the next 4 minutes for that third place. As our silos of different battles out on the track, closest one is Lewis Knight. David Roth, Ulrich Diaga is the closest fight. Then we got Rich van Heerden and Tristan Ocleon. They are now running nose to tail on one another. And then further up the field, we got David Young trying to catch up to Henry Platt, holding on for the lead in the Platinum class. The BMW just trying to get it all together, gets a little bit squirrely on the exit, and that has allowed David Young to close up the time as well. Everyone trying to give it their absolute all, not wanting to abuse track limits, because drive-through here could be absolutely detrimental for the championship. Lewis Knight slowing it right down in the final corner, and does have David Roth immediately coming in towards the back of him, not able to get that pass done, and Ulrich Diaga trying to just claw back that third place, absolutely trying to see if it's going to be possible. Domingo trying to move up into second place. He closed up under braking quite hard against David Young, as we do see Tristan Ocleon into the pits. Tristan Ocleon into pit lane. Did he short fuel and not get enough juice in the tank to see it through to the end with 2 minutes and 50 seconds? Ocleon into the pits yet again. That moves Biermester up into 22nd position. Ocleon down into 23rd. Biermester class position, and overall he's going to be pretty happy to see that come to fruition. Ulrich Diaga trying to put pressure on David Roth at the moment, not able to close up that gap, as there is just fights up and down through the order. But who has got the stamina to go the extra mile? Well, it's going to be a long one, including for Sean Skitter at the moment, who's running for his life. It's 1.8 seconds ahead of Christoph Peterson. He does see Chris Biermester as they cleared on by, but it's going to be might be 2 laps to go when they come across the line, with Christoph Peterson in second place, 1.8 seconds behind. Rafa, unfortunately 13 seconds behind our front running pack, as he will be just holding on to that third place. Eddie Miles Stone 6 seconds behind. Domingo once again trying to put a bit of pressure on David Young, as Tristan Ocleon coming out of pit lane. Ocleon is a blue flag. He will not be moving out of the way, but he's not allowed to fight for that piece of road. He will have to release these cars as soon as he can without losing too much time, as he's trying to close up to Chris Biermester further up the road in towards the final stages of this race. However, David Young does not want to get fouled up behind him and allow Domingo a shot into that second place. Domingo for the Project Vapor team, more than happy to pick up some of the points here. Daniel Otsushima 2.5 seconds behind, is going to be willing these two to try and get tangled up in their own fight. Rick Thomas onto the back of Chris Wall, as he is trying to give a little bit of a chase. He's got Cedric Muir running on second place. He got a little bit of a tank slapper, but was able to save it. Lewis Knight now running nearly a second clear of David Roth, but also is now running 2 seconds clear of Ulrich Diaga. So he's more than happy to go and lead out his class position. Herman Whitner trying to gain a little bit of time. He's onto the back of Ulrich Diaga, and a drive-through penalty comes in for Muchishima. Drive-through penalty for Muchishima, who needs to get it done. But soon as he goes through the pits, it is a 30-second penalty if he cannot clear it before the checkered flag is dropped. So for Daniel Muchishima, this is a nightmare scenario coming into play. Skitter coming down to the wire. 10 seconds to go. Can he run the clock down? Is it going to be enough? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And it will be the clock run down. Skitter coming across the line. Takes the checkered flag ahead of Peterson by a second. And Rafa Sosa will take third. They timed it to the T. Skitter, Peterson, and Sosa take the top 3 for our diamond, with Milestone and Ruud Heideke rounding out our top 5. Henry Platt holding on to the lead for the Platinum division, trying to give it a hard push right to the end. David Young right behind, trying to see if he can keep Isam Domingo at bay with 2 corners. Second place in the Platinum is still up for grabs as they go late onto the anchors. Platt will win out just ahead, and he will take full points here at Red Bull Ring ahead of his rival David Roth. As Platt comes across the line, David Young and Isam Domingo will take second and third respectively, with unfortunately Mutsushima doing that drive-through penalty will have a 30-second on top of the time. He does have Rick Thomas come bailing on through. Cedric Muir will take second place in the gold division. Rick Thomas takes the victory in the gold, with Lewis Knight fought it all the way through to the end to manage to grab that third place in class. David Roth in 15th position with Ulrich Diaga, Herman Whitner, Richard Van Heerden, Patrick Bells comes across the line, along with Sorodio, Biermesser, Gamble, and Ockleon rounding out the pack. And Gamble trying to see it through to the end to keep the championship's hope alive for the gold division. With a 30-second added on, Sorodio beats out Mutsushima right at the end. A phenomenal race it was. And what a race it was indeed. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. And we are back, folks. It has been an incredible race, and we're going to be having a chat to a couple of our drivers after a stellar effort from all our divisions. But there was a little bit of argy-bargy moments. We got a couple of drivers to have a chat to, one of them being first place in the Platinum division, managing to get his way to the line. We've also got our gold division coming in as well. So absolutely wonderful to see. We're going to kick things off with our gold division, and starting off with third place in the gold division, let's have a chat to Lewis Knight. Lewis, welcome to the commentary box. What a race out there. Managed to get yourself onto the final step of the podium, but had to really work with it, considering you got stuck in between a multitude of classes, not only just your own.
Yeah, a multitude of classes and being spun. Didn't really help. But racing's racing at the end of the day. I'll take P3. I'm pretty happy with that.
And how was it out on the circuit in the Nissan GTR? You got some incredible straight line out there, but I'm sure going in towards the sunset, up into the corners, didn't make it any easier trying to watch it on your mirrors. You looked through a windscreen that was absolutely just a blind glare in front of you, and trying to keep an eye on where you are in the radar.
Everywhere that was straight was brilliant. But as soon as I hit those tight corners, the top of the hill, sector 2, just nothing. Couldn't keep with the BMWs. The Ferraris had a big advantage there as well. But, you know, cars have their weaknesses and their upside, so I'll take it for the Nissan nonetheless.
And you were in for a solid fight against Ulrich Diaga. Take us through that little battle the two of you were having, because it was back and forth, till eventually the faster divisions managed to slot in and open you guys up. But it was definitely a nose-to-tail run between the two of you.
I can't fault Ulrich at all for that race and say I actually had so much fun going toe to toe with him up the hill, coming back down the hill. It was a lot of fun, and then with David and Musa appearing and kind of slotting in between us, I was quite happy to have them there and be that bodyguard I needed.
Absolutely wonderful stuff. With that being said, heading into the final round, are you feeling a little bit more confident to try and put yourself onto the podium spots? You are the defending champion. I don't think you're going to have the points to retake the crown, but aiming for a third place is entirely viable at this stage of the game.
I think P2 might be viable. Give me a second. Yeah, so after P1 is with the current standings before obviously all the numbers are put in. Me and Richard Van Herde are tied for second, so second, third, fourth is within a point, fifth is within 3 points of us. Ulrich's within 5 points of us. It's very close for P2. I don't think anyone can touch Gamble, unfortunately, now unless he has a complete DNF, which no one wants.
Well, it wasn't his best race last time and this time. So, with that being said, anything you would like to say to all our legendary VIPs out in the virtual grandstands here at ERA and also our partner, Overtake.gg?
Obviously, to the guys that watch, thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys, as per normal, enjoy it as much as we do driving around on the server. And Overtake, thank you for sponsoring us and enjoying what we do as well.
Absolutely wonderful stuff. And Lewis, congratulations once again. The Good Smile has got a great smile, taking third place in the gold division here tonight for round 6 at the Red Bull Ring. Wonderful to have a chat to him, and always a fun chap to have a chat to you, and excited for the championship. That's it. Let's bring in our first place in the gold division, and it is Rick Thomas managing to get himself onto the podium. Rick, welcome to the commentary box. I think this is the first time we've gotten to chat with one another here, but a solid victory here tonight, managing to beat out Cedric Muir, the Frenchman, in second place. How are you feeling? And there must be a bit of a buzz amongst the team, because 2 races in a row, you got the team fighting out and getting the top spot in the gold division.
Yeah, I wouldn't believe it. Chris Boomeister said exactly the same thing as I won. He's like, yes, another win for XTR in another drive. So, yeah, pretty buzzing in the team. Was a bit stressed at the end. Got held up a little bit from class above me, which I think might have hit the wall, might have carried some damage. I think I dropped from 7 seconds to like just under 3 or 4 seconds against Mir. So it was a quite a bit of stressful day at the end.
Now, we did see the start getting rather busy, including you going 4 wide into turn 1. Take us through that start, and how was it being in the middle of the pack?
Turn 1's always it's always a hard zone when it comes to the Red Bull Ring. That inside curb is very likely to throw whoever's out on the inside into the mid pack, and then it's just chaos. So just keeping clean, trying to keep the radar and just making sure you leave enough space. And at the end of the day, it worked out. Yeah, luckily for us, didn't have any impact at the end there.
Well, a phenomenal run. That being said, and looking towards the final round of the championship, are you feeling more confident to be able to fight it out in the platinum? And I know that you've been, in the gold division, you've been trying to little get your way up to the top. You're sitting in 11th, but a win here tonight would jump you up a few positions. What's your plan for the final round?
Yeah, well, I mean, we seeded into platinum, and since being there, I just said these guys are way too quick for me at the moment. Well, tonight was a first good step to getting back into plat. So I think that's the ultimate goal. But from now it's just practice with the team, learn some close following, and be ready for next week.
Absolutely. Well, before I let you go to enjoy the celebration with the team, anything you'd like to say to our partner, Overtake.gg, to all the drivers and teams out on the circuit, to your team and sponsors, and most importantly, I think you'll agree with me, all the race fans tuning in from around the world to see the epic battles?
Just thanks for everybody watching and supporting the channels and everywhere you are watching from. It's amazing to have the opportunity. It's also great to have a team like XTR behind you and putting in the effort and get the setups dialed in and pushing you in practice, making sure everything's going well. So yeah, just thanks for everybody. Thanks for you. Thanks for Era. And it's a pleasure, and it's nice being here at the top at one stage.
Absolutely wonderful stuff, and I'm sure it will not be the last. Rick Thomas taking the win in the gold division. Well done, Rick, on a phenomenal drive.
Cheers all.
Rick Thomas with a solid victory in the gold division. That being said, we have got a winner in the platinum division that had to really work out, and at one stage of the game, didn't think he would get all the way to the top. Let's have a chat to Henry Platt after a phenomenal run. Henry, welcome to the commentary box. And what a race for you. A little bit of argy-bargy moments threw you down into 5th, but it came down to a fight amongst the pros and, well, amongst the diamonds and the platinums that turned the whole thing on its head. It was a 6-car train up against one another. You must be worn out after that.
Yeah, yes, that was hectic. The end there, I don't even know what happened. I was just trying to get past people. It was insane. I think my strat worked out, but by luck, not because I did the right strat. First few laps or first session, I had a lot of clean laps, and when we got out of the pits, everyone was fighting. I think that's when they were on their new tire, so that actually worked out for me.
And I've got to ask, I mean, being in a 6-car fight like what you had, where it was left and right, trying to guard the lines, trying to get that little bit of a move, and also knowing that it's for maximum points here, knowing that your championship rival was right on the tail, what was going through your mind at that stage of the game? How were you processing to try and stay alive?
Yeah, throughout the entire race, I was watching where Rolf was. I saw he didn't have the pace at the start, assuming that he started on old tires, and I just needed to get that 10-second gap on him, which I did. But then he caught up with me when we were behind Wall and them fighting. I don't know, Wall gave me the hardest tackle I've ever received in my life. I still need to go and watch where he came from. I don't even know. that would be into P5 again, and then we had to race again. But yeah, I don't know. I'll have to go and watch. It was just hectic all the time.
Well, absolutely phenomenal stuff. And that being said, anything you would like to say to all the teams, to the drivers out there, to all our VIPs out in the virtual grandstands, and to the partners here at ERA?
Yeah, just thanks to my team, thanks to all the organizers, thanks to you for streaming, everyone that's watching. I think it was quite entertaining tonight. And then, yeah, I think for some it might have been a bit bitter there at the end. But as I was driving in between all those cars, I was thinking to myself, this is probably one of the coolest races I've been ever part of. Like, I kept thinking that, like, just get past these people. This is so cool. So yeah, thanks for all the drivers that was around us there. Cheers, guys.
Absolutely wonderful. Henry Platt of the Moscow Motorsport doing well to get a victory here tonight to keep the championship hopes alive. Talking about championships, though, let's have a chat to second place here tonight, and had the fastest qualifying time, still had the fastest lap of the race in the Diamond Division. Christoph Peterson, welcome to the commentary box. What a race out there. Not quite the fight that you thought you were going to have, but closing down to the final second. If there was just one more lap, that would have been the fight.
Maybe more like 5 more laps. Skitty was rapid today. There was a 10th between us for 20 laps in a row, I think. I like crept towards him every single lap, but there was just not enough time to do anything. Really, really deserved win for him. I gave him my setup before the race, so I'm really happy that it worked out for him. Not much more to say. Like, my race was not really eventful because I didn't get to fight anyone, unfortunately. But yeah, I'm super happy about the outcome, actually.
Well, a incredible race, and lovely to see that you're passing the flowers over to Sean Skitter. But now for the championship, it looks like it's going to be a close one heading into the final round for all 3 divisions. you're looking at reclaiming your crown. I mean, what is going through in terms of planning for this final championship round? I mean, this is turning into a race and a half. We got to see here at Red Bull Ring that the fight is on. Mahath Musa is still staying in for the fight. You also got the same with Sean Skitter, who's not hanging around at this stage of the game. He's trying to close up the distance to you. And considering the final round, which is happening on June 7th, is a 90-minute race with mandatory pit stops coming in. It's mixed conditions. We don't know what we're getting. And we're heading out to Monza out of all tracks, which hasn't been the most successful track for you during the course of the seasons.
Well, I mean, I always hate this situation because I've actually been champ since last race already because of unfortunate events, I guess, because Rafa and Ernest didn't show up. And for Rafa, it was already the second no score, so I kind of won by attending. But let's maybe shed some light on the others you mentioned because I'm seeing the live standings right now, and Sean is second with 64 points. Rafa is third with 63 points, and then it's Moaf with 58 and Ruan Heineke with 54. So there's the battle. That's the battle we need to look at Monza. I'm going to be there too, of course. I'm going to try to win as always. And I'm going to battle all of these guys. But this is the tight fight in Diamond this season. And it's also really nice to see that Platinum still has a really tight championship because David Roth might not think so, but he's very close to Henry still. 4 points between the two, and David actually has 90 points when you ignore the drop round, and Henry has 86. So those two you definitely need to look at Monza. Also, congrats to Henry for the win. There was a really great racecraft, I think, from what I heard. I didn't look at it yet, of course.
Well,
So, yeah.
worth looking at it because there was just fights up and down through the order. Even for second place was a wild moment for a long time. That being said, Christoph, you have been looking at the championship. You've been seeing the drivers improving. Skill levels have obviously been getting better and better. Right through the field is getting quicker and quicker. Do you think going into season 19 that we are going to see possibly new champions coming out towards the front? Because it looks like all the old champions are getting hunted down one by one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably going to experiment with the car choice again, like I did last season, where it worked out really well, I have to say. Like, I missed the championship by 1 point, but I was really happy with the Mercedes.
Except
I don't
for one
know what
track.
I'm choosing yet. Yeah, except one, but mistakes happen. But yeah, I don't know what I'm taking yet, so I'm not going to say my options now, but I'm definitely going to do something different to the Honda. And yeah, as you said, everyone is getting faster, and that's also why I'm always attending, like even in seasons where I'm kind of like the only one who does all 7 races pretty much, or where I'm like so far up top. I think it's important to always just be there because there needs to be someone who can be chased down so the others have something to push for and to get faster. And across all the seasons of the last 2 years, this really worked out well, I think, because I remember season 9, Skitty and I already shared the front row at the Red Bull Ring. That time it didn't work out that well. I did a stupid mistake and stuff. I already mentioned that some seasons ago. But back then it was a lot colder and we were like half a second to a second slower than now. So everyone, even the top, increased in pace so much. So I think the academy part of our league is definitely working.
Absolutely been a great one, and it's coming down to the wire. Christoph, before I let you go to enjoy the celebration, anything you would like to say to all the drivers, to all the teams, to all the admin in the background working frantically here at ERA, to all our virtual grandstand that's been cheering us on week after week, and to our partner Overtake.gg from being a part of our ERA endeavors and absolutely giving us a season to remember.
Yeah, as always, thanks everyone for attending. Thanks to you, Steven, for streaming back-to-back 2 days in a row. Yesterday with the 6 hours of Misano and now another hour of Red Bull Ring. Hope everyone had fun. Hope all the teams are showing up again next round at Monza. I think many people saw GT World Challenge, the big crash that happened at Monza in real life. I hope we are not replicating that. Instead, I hope we have a lot of great battles at the 90 minutes of Monza. Mixed weather, everything is unpredictable. Monza will produce great racing, I think, great slipstream racing. So I'm excited for it.
Absolutely.
See everyone next week.
Absolutely. Christoph Peterson, well done on the victory overall and in the Diamond class. And we look forward to seeing you at Monza next weekend for the final round of the ERA Sunday Championship Season 18. And folks, it has been a great one this evening. We've seen some impressive fights. We've seen some incredible duos. We've seen the ups, we've seen the downs, and we've heard the championship is right for the taking, right through from our diamond to our gold. Folks, we're in for an exciting one, so don't go anywhere. Make sure you hit the subscribe button along with the bell notification icon to keep up to date with everything happening here at ERA. From our endurance racing all the way to our sprint racing, we've got you covered. And our learning courses as well, completely open. If you are a veteran driver looking to test your skills against some of the best in the world, you have the right place. If you're a new driver just getting involved in some racing, you've got a place to try your hand and see what you can do, learning from the best. But folks, it's been a great one. Thank you very much to all our partners, Overtake.gg, all our admin from being behind and keeping things going, our stewarding, our drivers and our teams all racing with us throughout the season. Looking forward to seeing what happens. We're going into the final round at Monza next weekend. And a big thank you to every single one of you, the virtual grandstand, the petrol heads that keep us going night after night, day after day, supporting all the teams up and down through pit lane. And like always, a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, everybody.